Bob Hayward, a highway patrol officer from Salt Lake City, sits in his car. He's just finishing his shift when a tan Volkswagen Beetle passes by with its lights off. Hayward realizes the car is out of place. The officer finds the Beetle parked right in front of his neighbor's house. The owners are not home, only their 2 teenage daughters are inside, alone. Hayward turns on his brights to read the license plate, startling the driver. The man immediately speeds away. Hayward chases him. The driver blows past multiple stop signs. A few minutes later, the Beetle finally stops at an abandoned gas station. A man gets out with his hands up. He smells of marijuana and says he's a lost student who was at the local drive-in watching Towering Inferno. He got lost on his way home. Hayward immediately recognizes the lie, that movie was not playing tonight. He checks the car. The passenger seat is missing. In its place is an open bag containing an arsenal of strange items, a ski mask, a crowbar, an ice pick, trash bags, gloves, pantyhose rope, and handcuffs. Hayward arrests him for evading an officer and possession of burglary tools. But without a direct link to a completed crime, the man is registered, photographed, and free to leave on bail. Hayward remains suspicious. He's convinced the man intended to break into his neighbor's house. It would be much later that Bob Hayward would realize the man he arrested that night was none other than America's most infamous killer, Ted Bundy. The 70s and 80s were the era of the serial killer in the US, defined by names like Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. But one stood out, Ted Bundy. He was handsome, articulate, and outwardly likable. Theodore Robert Bundy was born in 1946. He grew up in a seemingly loving, Christian home with dedicated parents. But not everything was right. From a young age, he showed disturbing tendencies, arranging knives around a sleeping ant, taking apart mice, and trying to drown others while swimming. He never showed any sign of guilt. For a few years, he lived with his grandparents. His grandfather was a racist, abusive wife-beater and a collector of violent pornography, which Bundy would regularly sneak a peek at. Bundy was intelligent and good-looking, but shy and often bullied. He sometimes had serious outbursts of rage. Despite his insecurities, he gradually built the perfect mask, appearing as a confident, charming young man. He graduated in psychology, started dating, and attended law school. But his true desire was always crime. His lengthy history of teenage theft, though wiped clean at 18, fueled a darker compulsion. On February 1, 1974, that compulsion broke through. Bundy broke into a student's home, abducted, and killed his very first victim, Linda and Healy. Bundy's victims were always attractive young women. He used his charm, often faking an injury or disability, to lure them to his car. Once they believed he was no threat, he would beat them unconscious. He stored their bodies on the floor of his tan Volkswagen, right where the passenger seat used to be. Every month, more women disappeared, first in Washington, then in Utah. The public was terrified, and the police were desperate. Before Ted Bundy, the term serial killer simply did not exist in the public mind. Bundy was an expert at evasion. He briefly worked for the Seattle Crime Commission and even wrote a rape prevention pamphlet for women. He knew how not to leave evidence, and police departments rarely shared information across state borders. But on November 8, 1974, Ted Bundy made a crucial mistake. He left a witness. 18-year-old Carol Duranch was driving into a Sears Mall parking lot. A man approached her, introducing himself as Officer Roseanne from the Murray Police Department. He politely told her someone had tried to break into her car and asked her to come file a complaint. Carol smelled a faint whiff of alcohol and felt uneasy, but the officer showed her a badge. They walked to his car. It was a tan Volkswagen Beetle. A few minutes later, he pulled over at an elementary school. He suddenly grabbed her arm and handcuffed her. Carol screamed. Luckily, she realized the handcuffs weren't attached to anything. She grabbed the door and jumped out. The man chased her, pulling out a crowbar and hitting her twice. Carol fought for her life, holding up her arms in defense, until another car approached, giving her a chance to run and jump into it. She immediately went to the police and reported Officer Roseanne and his tan Volkswagen. The dots were finally connected. Carol later identified Bundy in a lineup, and in 1976, he was sentenced to 15 years for her attempted kidnapping. During his subsequent murder trial in Colorado, Bundy decided to defend himself in court, granting him more freedom, a typewriter, a desk, and access to the courthouse's law library without shackles. He immediately began planning an escape. During a recess, Bundy slipped into the library. While his guard was in the hall, Bundy jumped from a second-story window. The fall was hard, but he ran across the street, over a fence, and into the mountains. It took the guards a full 10 minutes to realize he was gone. After 6 days of wandering the mountains, exhausted and weak, Bundy stole a Cadillac. He was spotted zigzagging on the road by 2 officers, who pulled him over thinking he was drunk. He was arrested just 2 blocks from where he had jumped out the window. Back in custody, Bundy was shackled, but almost immediately, he started planning another escape. Weeks later, he used a hacksaw to cut a hole in his cell ceiling. He had starved himself to lose weight and fit into the tight vent shaft. He crawled through the tight shaft into an apartment above, the prison guard's home. After the guard and his wife left for a movie, Bundy put on civilian clothes and walked out the front door. This time, it took guards 17 hours to realize he was gone. Bundy had vanished. Within days, Bundy was in Florida. On a quiet night on the campus of Florida State University, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house, assaulting 4 young women. 2 of them died. In the following weeks, Bundy failed multiple abductions before successfully luring and killing 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Shortly after, patrol officer David Lee saw an orange Volkswagen, stolen, driving with its lights off. A chase ensued, and when Bundy was stopped, he decided to fight the officer. Lee was forced to fire a warning shot, and after a struggle, he managed to pistol whip and arrest him. The hunt for America's most infamous killer had finally ended. Bundy was sentenced to death for the Chi Omega and Kimberly Leach murders. His trial was the first ever in U.S. history to be shown on national television, turning him into a morbid celebrity. On the last day before his execution, thousands gathered outside the prison, chanting, "Burn, Bundy, burn." On January 24, 1989, after confessing to a total of 36 murders, Ted Bundy was executed via electric chair. Newer DNA evidence suggests he may have murdered over 100 people.